Ada secretly visited her village one quiet morning, her heart heavy with guilt. She stood hidden, watching from a distance as her siblings begged for food. Their thin, frail body showing the toll of poverty. Her mother lay bedridden, her once strong frame now weak and fragile. Ada's heart broke into pieces, but she knew she couldn't help them. The court rules forbid it. Instead, she chose to help neighbors and strangers in the village, offering them financial support and gifts. But each act of charity only deepened her guilt. What was the point of all this wealth if she couldn't use it to help her family? Tears streamed down her face as she returned home to the city, her sorrow weighing on her like a heavy chain. One day, Mama Nkechi, a family friend who had heard rumors of Ada's newfound wealth, decided to visit Ada's mother to confirm the truth. When she arrived at the crumbling house, she was stunned to see the family living in such poverty. Confusion filled her face as she asked Mama Ada, "Why are you still living like this when your daughter has become so wealthy? I have heard how she's helping people and even strangers and villagers." Mama Ada's frail body straightened and her face twisted in shock. "Which Ada are you talking about?" she asked in disbelief. "My own Ada, my daughter. It can't be true. Ada has not contacted us for years, since she left for the city. It's been 3 or 4 years now. We thought something terrible had happened to her." Mama Nkechi blinked, confused. "I don't understand. Are you saying you don't know your daughter is rich now? People in the village talk about her success and how generous she is." Ada's siblings, who had been eardropping, stared at each other in disbelief, their mind turning with question. Could it be true? Could their sister be rich? And if so, why hasn't she contacted us? Mama Nkechi tried to reassure them. "Maybe she's planning a big surprise for you. That's probably why she hasn't reached out yet." After Mama Nkechi left, Mama Ada and her children were filled with doubt and confusion. Why had Ada not visited or told them about her wealth? Too weak to travel herself, Mama Ada decided to send Chike, her 15 years old son, to the city to find his sister and confirm the truth. Chike prepared for the journey with the little money the family had saved for food. With determination in his heart, he set off, trekking and begging for free rides to conserve what little he had. Along the way, hunger chewed at him, but his mission to find his sister kept him moving forward. After hours of struggle, Chike finally arrived in the city. The sight overwhelmed him. Tall buildings, noisy streets, and a crowd unlike anything he had ever seen. But he didn't let the city's beauty distract him. He was here for one reason: to find Ada. Chike began asking strangers if they knew her, but the city was vast and no one could help him. Night fell, and Chike found himself alone, hungry and without a place to sleep. With tears in his eyes, he prayed desperately to God for help. Just as hope was fading, a kind man named Ayo noticed Chike's desperation and approached him. After hearing his story, Ayo offered to help. "The city is dangerous at night," Ayo said. "Come with me, I will give you a place to sleep." Chike followed Ayo to a small rundown apartment in the poorest side of the city. It wasn't much, but it was a shelter. Ayo gave Chike food and told him how difficult it would be to find Ada without any more information. Grateful for the kindness, Chike fell asleep that night, praying for strength to continue his search. The next morning, Chike gave Ayo the address of Ada's friend, Chinonso, hoping it would lead him to his sister. Ayo escorted him to the address, but warned him to be careful. "Here is my number," Ayo said, pressing a small amount of money into Chike's hand. "Call me if anything goes wrong." When Chike reached Chinonso's house, he knocked on the gate for hours, but the gateman refused to let him in. "Madam is not around," the gateman said coldly. Chike waited, tired but hopeful. Hours later, a luxurious car pulled up, and his heart leaped when he saw Ada and Chinonso. "Ada," he called, rushing to the car window. Chinonso sneered. "Who is this madman at my gate?" she asked. Ada turned, and her face went pale. When she saw Chike, panic gripped her. She quickly ordered Chinonso to drive into the compound. Chike ran alongside the car, knocking on the window and pleading for her to stop, but Ada ignored him. As they entered the compound, Chike managed to slip in before the gate closed. Ada hurriedly got out of the car and yelled at the gateman, "Don't let that boy in." But it was too late. Chike was already standing in front of her, smiling with relief. "Sister," he said joyfully, "I am so happy to see you. We have missed you so much. What happened all these years?" Ada's face hardened. "What are you doing here? Did that witch of a mother send you to ruin my life?" Chike froze, unable to process her words. "Ada, what are you saying? Is this some kind of joke?" Ada slapped him across the face, her voice cold and harsh. "Get out of here, you beggar, looking for someone to lynch off of. Who is your sister? I don't know you." Chike fell to his knees, tears streaming down his face. "Sister, please don't talk like this. Mother is sick and we are suffering. We need your help." Ada's heart ached, but she kept her cold attitude. She knew that showing any compassion would lead to questions she couldn't answer. She slapped him again and called the gateman to throw him out. As Chike was being dragged away, he shouted at Chinonso, "What have you done to my sister? Please bring back the real Ada." Ada turned away, tears streaming down her face. As she walked into the house, Chinonso tried to console her, but Ada shoved her away. "Leave me alone," she shouted, her guilt eating away at her. Meanwhile, Chike refused to leave the gate, waiting for Ada to come out. That night, he slept on the cold ground, his heart broken but determined. The next morning, when Ada and Chinonso's car approached the gate, Chike blocked the path, shouting for his sister. Chinonso stepped on the gas, forcing Chike to jump out of the way. "Do you plan to kill my brother?" Ada screamed. Chinonso laughed. "Relax, I was just trying to scare him." Defeated and heartbroken, Chike used every means possible to return to the village. Angry, confusion, and hunger were evident on his face as he walked home, ready to tell his family the painful truth about what he had witnessed. When Chike returned home, his mother, Mama Ada, was shocked to see him alone and visibly exhausted. His clothes was dusty, his face haggard and filled with dust. Mama Ada, who had been sitting on a wooden chair, immediately rose in alarm. Her frail figure moved with concern as she reached for him. "Chike, what happened? Where is Ada? Why do you look like this?" she asked, her voice shaking with panic. Chike hesitated, his eyes darting to the floor. He struggled to find the words to explain what he had seen. Finally, he took a deep breath and spoke. "Mama, Ada, she doesn't want us anymore," he said. his voice breaking. Mama Ada frowned, her confusion deepened. What are you saying, Chike? How can my own daughter not want us? Speak clearly. Chike's hand trembled as he recounted everything: the luxurious house, the cold way Ada had treated him, and her outright rejection of her family. He spoke of how she denied him and even insulted their mother. Mama Ada staggered backwards, gripping the edge of the table for support. Her mind reeled with disbelief. No, not my Ada, not my daughter, she whispered. You must be mistaken, Chike. My daughter would never do such a thing. I wish I was mistaken, Mama. Chike replied bitterly, but the sister we knew is gone. She is changed. Shaking her head, Mama Ada refused to accept his words. There must be an explanation. I will not have this family torn apart by misunderstanding. We need answers. Determined to get to the bottom of the matter, she decided to call one of her late husband's kinsmen, Mazi Okafo, a respected elder in their community. When Mazi Okafo arrived later that evening, he listened attentively as Mama Ada and Chike recounted the event, his weathered face darkened with concern. This is serious, Mazi said gravely. A child cannot forget the womb that bore her. I will call Ada myself. She must come home so we can resolve this face to face. True to his word, Mazi Okafo placed a call to Ada that same night. Ada was sitting in her tasteful furnished living room when her phone rang. She hesitated when she saw her uncle's name on the screen. Her stomach turned with unease. She had been waiting for this moment, knowing it was only a matter of time before her family confronted her. Reluctantly, she answered, Uncle, good evening. Ada, my dear, Mazi Okafor's deep voice rambled. We need to see you in the village. There are serious matters to discuss. Your mother is worried and I need you to come home. Ada's throat tightened. She tried to keep her voice steady. Uncle, I am busy with work. No excuse, Ada. Mazi interrupted sharply. Your family needs you. Come home. Ada knew there was no escaping this. Yes, uncle, I will come, she replied quietly before ending the call. As she set the phone down, a wave of fear washed over her. She had worked hard to distance herself from her family for fear of not helping them. Returning to the village meant comforting the people she had turned her back on and risking exposure of the dark secrets she carried. A week later, Ada arrived in the village, stepping out of a sleek black car that stood in stark contrast to the humble surrounding. She wore an expensive dress and carried herself with an air of confidence, but her heart pounded as she approached her family's house. The moment her younger siblings saw her, they ran towards her, their faces lighting up with joy. Sister Ada, they cried, reaching out to hug her, but Ada coldly pushed them away. Her face hardened. Don't touch me, she snapped. The youngest, Ebele, looked up at her with wide, hot eyes. Sister, why? Mama Ada, who had been watching from the doorway, froze in shock. Ada, what is the meaning of this? She demanded, her voice trembling. Ada raised her hand, silencing her mother. I didn't come here for a family reunion. Let's get straight to the point. The room fell silent as everyone stared at her, disbelief evident on their faces. Despite her cold demeanor, Ada's chest ached. Seeing her family again stirred up emotions she had buried deep inside. She longed to embrace them, to laugh with them like before, but she couldn't afford to let her guard down. She has to keep up the art for her family to leave her alone and not question her. Mazi Okafo cleared his throat, breaking the silence. Ada, sit down. We need to talk. Reluctantly, she took a seat, her posture rigid. Mama Ada wiped her tears from her cheek as she spoke. Ada, my daughter, what has happened to you? Chike told us everything. Why have you turned away from us? What have we done to you to deserve this? Ada's jaw tightened. I haven't turned away from anyone, Mama. I have simply moved on with my life. I don't want to be associated with poor people like you. Moved on, Mama Ada's voice cracked. From your family, from your roots, how can you forget the people who raised you? Ada couldn't meet her mother's eyes. It's not that simple, she muttered. It is that simple, Chike said angrily. We are struggling. Why you have been living in luxury? Do you even care about us? Look at your mother. She is sick, and you have been helping everyone in the village except your own family. Are you not ashamed? Enough! Ada snapped, rising to her feet. I didn't come here to be lectured. I came because Uncle asked me to come. Then explain yourself, Mazi Okafo said firmly. We deserve to know why you have abandoned your family. Ada's hand folded into a fist. As she struggled to maintain her composure, she felt trapped, cornered by their questions and accusations. But before she could respond, Mama Ada suddenly grabbed her chest, her face twisted in pain. Mama, Ebele screamed, rushing to her side. Ada froze, her heart racing as she watched her mother collapse onto the floor. For a moment, she stood paralyzed, guilt and fear crashing over her like a wave. She wanted to run to her mother, to hold her, to beg for forgiveness, but she couldn't move. The moment Mama Ada fainted, chaos erupted in the small living room. Ada's tough demeanor crumbled as she fell to her knees, cradling her mother's head with trembling hands. Mama, 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 wake up! Ada cried, her voice shaking with fear. Her tears flowed uncontrollably as she shook her mother gently, desperate for any sign of life. Her younger siblings gathered around, their faces pale with fear. Chike knelt beside her, and anger clear in his voice. You see what your wickedness has caused, he shouted. Are you happy now? His voice cutting through the panic. We need to get her to the hospital now. Snapping out of her frozen state, Ada nodded quickly. Together, they carried Mama Ada to the car. Mazi Okafo took the driver's seat, his hands steady despite the tension. The ride to the hospital felt like forever, with Ada holding her mother's hand, praying silently. When they got to the hospital, the medical team rushed Mama Ada into the emergency room. Ada kept pacing in the waiting room, her heart pounding. Her siblings sat in one corner, their eyes fixed on Ada with a mixture of resentment and worry in their gazes. After what felt like eternity, a doctor came out. His face was serious, and his words were careful. She is stable now, he said, but the test revealed that she has a severe heart condition and needs immediate surgery and treatment. If we don't, she may not survive. And the surgery required a large funds to begin. Ada's heart sank. How much will it cost? She asked, her voice barely above a whisper. The doctor paused before saying 10 million. Ada felt the walls closing in on her. Please give me 3 days to gather the money. She had the money, more than enough, but she knew what would happen if she used her wealth to help her family. The court would punish her and everyone she loved. The thought sent chills down her spine. Okay, you have 3 days, the doctor said firmly. After that, we can't delay the surgery anymore. Ada nodded again, though her mind was racing. I will try to get the money, she said, though deep inside, Ada knew using her wealth was out of the question. The court rules were clear. Using her riches to help her family would invite death, not just to her, but to her family as well. As soon as Ada left the hospital, she drove back to the city at a breakneck speed in a panic. She needed help, but she couldn't trust anyone with her secret without being punished. As she drove, she tried calling Chinonso, but the number didn't go through. When she reached Chinonso's mansion, she ran inside, tears streaming down her face. Chinonso saw her and rushed to meet her. Ada, what happened? Chinonso asked, worried. Ada collapsed onto the couch, her body shaking. Between her cries, she explained everything: her mother's illness, the cost of treatment, and how the court rules wouldn't let her help her family. Chinonso, please help me, Ada begged. If my mother dies, I swear I will kill you and everyone in that wicked court. I will start with your queen mother first. Chinonso's expression shifted from shock to determination. She understood Ada's pain and she felt guilty for being part of the cause. She sat beside Ada and held her hands. There must be a way, Chinonso said slowly. There is someone who managed to leave the court. It wasn't easy and it came at a price, but she survived. Where is she? Ada asked, grabbing Chinonso's hands. I will take you to her tomorrow, Chinonso said. The next day, Chinonso took Ada to a small rundown house in a quiet part of the city. Inside, they entered a dimly lit room where they met a thin woman named Nansa. Her eyes looked tired, but there was a quiet strength in her voice. Nansa listened as Ada told her story. Then she nodded slowly. When she spoke, her voice was soft but firm. I left the court years ago, Nansa began, but it cost me everything. My wealth vanished overnight, my family suffered, and I nearly lost my sanity. It was only through God, prayer, and the help of a pastor that I survived. Ada felt a flicker of hope. If I leave the court, will me and my family survive? Nansa nodded. If you surrender fully to God and seek God's guidance and let the pastor deliver you and your family from the court's evil bondage, your family will be safe. But you must be ready to lose everything, and it won't be easy. Ada sat silently for a moment, thinking about what Nansa said. Then she spoke, her voice firm. I will do whatever it takes to save my family. I can't watch my mother die. My family is worth more than any wealth. Nansa introduced Ada to Pastor Jerry, a humble but determined man of God. After listening to her story, he nodded solemnly. I will help you, he said, but you must understand that the Queen Mother will fight to destroy you. Are you prepared to lose everything and face the consequences? I am ready, Ada said, her voice shaking but determined. The pastor began a series of intense prayer, calling on God to break the chain that bound Ada and her family to the court. As they prayed, Ada felt an oppressive weight pressing down on her, as if an unseen force were trying to crush her. She won't let go easily. The Queen Mother is fighting back, Pastor Jerry warned, sweat pouring down his face. We need to pray for your entire family. Let's rush to the village before something terrible happens. Ada agreed, but Chinonso refused to accompany them, fearing the wrath of Queen Mother. I can't risk Queen Mother's words, Chinonso said. Pastor Jerry and Ada left Chinonso and went to the village. On their way, Queen Mother tried every means to stop them, but Pastor Jerry kept on praying. Finally, they arrived in the village. Pastor Jerry and Ada drove straight to the hospital where Mama Ada laid. Ada's siblings were shocked to see her with a pastor instead of the money. Before they could ask questions, the pastor asked Ada's siblings to gather around their mother's bed. Together, they prayed. As the prayer became more tense, strange things began to happen. The light flickered, the room grew cold, and a loud, eerie wailing sound filled the air. Ada felt an overwhelming urge to flee, but Pastor Jerry's commanding voice held her steady. The Queen Mother is here. She is trying to destroy you all, Pastor Jerry shouted, but she would not succeed. The pastor's prayer grew louder, rebuking the demonic forces. After what felt like hours, the wailing sound ceased, and the room filled with a profound peace. Mama Ada stared, her eyes weakly opened. Ada, she whispered weakly, "You are safe now," Pastor Jerry said with a tired smile. "God has delivered you and your family. You can now pay for the treatment now. Your mother will be healed after the surgery." Ada immediately paid for the treatment, though she feared what would happen next. Ada's mother survived the surgery, and Ada told her family everything about her past and the court. They were shocked, but her family stood by her, finally understanding the sacrifices she had made, and they thanked God for saving Ada and saving them from the hands of the wicked courts. That night, Ada's wealth disappeared, her accounts were emptied, and she began hearing voices echoing in her mind, remnants of the madness that now threatened her sanity. Though Ada had lost her wealth and her status, she found peace in prayer and the love of her family. Her new faith gave her strength to start again, determined to rebuild her life no matter how hard it would be. Ada resolved to rebuild her life one step at a time. Surrounded by the family she had almost lost, her journey was far from over, but for the first time in years, Ada felt free. If you enjoyed this story, let us know what lesson you learned from this tale.